Kia ora everyone, I'm Nick, founder of Kenzie's Gift. I'd like to welcome you to the Grief Podcast, brought to you by Kenzie's Gift. We're a New Zealand charity that provides mental health support for young Kiwis who've experienced the death of a parent or sibling. We don't avoid talking about death here. It's hard, it's real, and it changes everything. This podcast is a place for honest conversations about what it's like when someone in your life dies, how grief shows up, and what comes next. I'd like to say a huge thank you to SkyCity Auckland Community Trust for funding this podcast and making these conversations possible.
I'm Sasha, your host. When I was 17, my mum died of breast cancer. It turned my life upside down. I got support from Kenzie's Gift, and now I'm sitting down with other matatahi who, like me, have had a loved one die. Grief is different for everyone. Some days it hits you hard. Other days you feel nothing. There's no right or wrong way to deal with it. But one thing we do know, talking about grief makes it feel less lonely. In this podcast, we talk about death, grief, love, memories, and everything in between. If something in this episode does feel like too much, you don't have to push through. Pause, take a break, and come back when you're ready. In this episode, I'm talking to Conor, whose sister died at age 3 when he was only 5. He is now 24, just about to graduate uni with a degree in economics. And we talk all things from how grief has evolved throughout Conor's life to how we all do grief in our own ways. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Kenzie's Gift Grief Podcast. I'm so excited today to be joined by Conor. So welcome, Conor, to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's a good time. It's always fun.
Amazing. And what makes today's episode so special is the fact that you are actually Kenzie's brother. Now, For those that don't know, the Kenzie's Gift charity, Kenzie, is Conor's sister. And we actually wouldn't be here today, 1, doing the podcast, 2, the Kenzie's Gift charity. We all wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you and Kenzie and Nick. Nick being obviously your guys' mum.
Yeah.
I just know that the charity has helped so many people. In fact, over 6,000 Kiwis throughout New Zealand, and me being one of them. And I know it came about that you were 5 when Kenzie died at the age of 3. Yeah. And I know Nick mentioned that there were very limited resources and places for support. That is the reason why Kenzie's Gift charity was made. So I'd love if we could start by learning a bit about you and Kenzie's dynamic, Kenzie being your sister.
Well, it's always a strange one for me because, I had very few memories, but they were very good memories. I remember us being at Rainbow's End, having fun, enjoying times on the island, and just running around. They're very brief and spaced out memories, but they're very good. And I was lucky enough to have her in my life for the portion of time I did. Mm-hmm. But I've always been known to be very casual and laid back. As you know, there's yin and yang, and she was a lot more fiery and aggressive than I was. My mother once said if I was any more laid back, I'd be lying down. So I was very unfazed by stuff. Nothing would really get me in a huff or tough. I wouldn't really throw tantrums, where Kenzie was the opposite. She would question and bark at everything, and I would just go, I guess that's what it is. Yeah. I'd just be go with the flow, where if it wasn't her way, it's my way or the highway. But
I heard she ruled the roost a little bit, heard that phrase going around. And particularly I was told a story where if you guys were maybe picking a movie to watch, there was Kenzie's preference, your preference, and it would be Kenzie's movie. Is that right?
Yeah, I heard that I would usually fold to the pressure. Sadly, I don't really have too many memories about it, but it's probably true. Very, very laid back, and I don't mind what we do, especially these days. I care more about the company I'm with. I'll do anything as long as it's with the right people. Yeah. Where I think Kenzie has to be doing what she wants, as long as it's what she wants to do.
Yeah. So tell me, what was she specifically like as a sister? Are there any specific stories that you have of her that either you remember, or maybe ones that your mum or others have told you about her?
She always enjoyed rides on roller coasters, and always that adrenaline junkie vibe she always gave off. She always wanted to do stuff that was fast paced, and she would always have a big grin, ear to ear. Yeah. Have a big smile, showing her teeth. That's what I mostly remember. Is when we lived in Mototapa, obviously there was a lot of rock climbing and stuff, and there was a lot of open fields. She really enjoyed just being out and have a little bit of an adrenaline rush or any new activity that she could.
So it sounds like you guys would have had a lot of adventures together, and it sounds like just doing a lot of fun things in the time that you did have together.
Yeah, no, we definitely had a lot of fun, all my memories are pretty fond. We always enjoyed going out and stuff. Even some of my mum's family and friends came over when she got sick, and honestly, even though it was a sad time and a very devastating time because everyone was suffering with great illnesses, we were able to really enjoy ourselves. And as a 5-year-old, you don't really understand what's going on. Before she passed away, it was actually just laughs and joys. I was just gonna live my life, have some fun, and hang out with my family. It's very fun to look back on. If I cut out after she passed away, which was a big learning experience for me, especially at that age, because learning to process and understand what's truly like conspired. Because you watch like The Lion King or something, and you see Mufasa die. As a kid, you're like, no! But I still see adults to this day crying over that. It almost hits them more. So I feel like as you get older, you actually understand how much it actually means for someone to pass away. And then as I got older, I really started understanding like what I'd lost, and it started affecting me more in my adolescent years, I would say, than when it first happened.
So tell me a bit about that. How have you felt your grief changed from being a young person experiencing a death till now?
Because for me, my earliest memories was dealing with it. It comes easy for me to deal with grief. I feel very sad and distraught, but I understand that it will get better, and that more than anything, time will heal. Often when I go to funerals and stuff, it is sad, you're remembering someone's life, but almost a celebration of their life they lived and how much fun and enjoyment they got. Obviously, sadly, Kenzie didn't get a long life, but she definitely got a lot of joys out of it. Like, every free moment she had, she was having some sort of fun. So I was very glad she got to experience a lot of cool new things, and a lot of fun experiences that she loved doing.
So in that, I'm hearing you've been able to recognise that obviously it's a really, sad and traumatic experience going through the death of anyone that you know. And for you, perhaps the grief has changed over time from being able to experience those emotions and being able to honour them. Would you say that's how you've sort of dealt with your grief? Yeah,
almost in a way. Like, of course you're sad. It's a very sad time that they passed, and it's very hard to deal with. But I'm happy they got to experience life. I can't remember the statistic, but it's like the likelihood of us having life is 1 in a trillion. Don't quote me on that. It's a very rare thing and a very amazing thing we get to experience. Even though their story has finished, it was still a really great story they got to live.
To grieve means to have loved.
Yeah, to have one, you're going to have the other no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And how would you say grief shows up for you now with Kenzie? And when it does come up, how do you move through that now?
You have your days where you just, for some reason, you feel like a wet blanket, you're just flopped and you can't get out of bed. I usually break things down to real simple, small tasks and just take my time with it. I don't try to overthink and try to process it all at once. Don't try to have like all the pieces of the pie at once, just one piece. I'll get up. We're just going to brush our teeth today. We're going to do that. And once you brush your teeth, you're feeling a little better. And then I'm like, I'll get myself in a shower, freshen up, because you always feel better after a shower. And then I kind of just go one foot in front of the other until the day's finished. And then I often say, it's not going to be this bad tomorrow. It's not going to hurt this bad tomorrow. And usually the next day, I'm feeling better. And I just keep ticking along. Because I've spent a lot of time actually processing the loss and dealing with the grief. Because you often find that people struggle to like face it. That's obviously the first thing you got to do is like really face and deal with the loss and accept it. But since I've had a majority of my life to look and deal with it, I just one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, one goal, and then that's me. And then I just keep chipping away.
And at Kenzie's Gift, we see a lot of photos of Kenzie, whether that's on your Instagram or adverts, and often she's smiling in these photos, really beautiful smile. She looks absolutely adorable. Which of these photos stand out to you as being most like her?
The most common one I remember, there was one of us on a white vehicle. I have a Conor, which is shaved head. She's in front of me just enjoying herself, just having a big old grin. Probably that. It's the most common one when I think of Kenzie these days, because you have like pictures and obviously memories and stuff, but it's the most common picture I see. It's like those little fond memories of Motor Tap with us.
Yeah. Sounds like you hold those memories so dearly, and specifically that sort of vibrant energy that she just exuded.
Oh yeah, because like, as I was saying before, even though it was sadly a very short life, family and friends, like mum, everyone made sure that she enjoyed life as much as she could. And she also did, like, it wasn't that she was a sad person. She was always happy anyway. But we really try to emphasize the free time she had as much as she could. And yeah.
That's beautiful. In my experience, I'm a daughter. I'm a daughter to my mum, to my dad, and fortunately my dad is still here today and love him so much. And well, my mum isn't. And what that means to me is I'm still a daughter. However, I'm not a daughter to my mum who's alive anymore. And so for you, I know it's been a long time since Kenzie has died. And so what is it like for you being a brother with no living sibling?
For a majority of my schooling years, I would always just say I'm an only child, because it was always easier for me to explain to people, because often I would find people always grieving for me, like, I'm sorry for your loss and stuff. And it wasn't that it bothered me. But in a way it did. I got sick of constantly explaining myself and then telling the story, and then had to be like, it's okay, you don't have to feel sad. So it almost left me in this bubble of just saying I'm an only child, because it was easier than dealing with people constantly feeling almost sorry for me, which to me, I personally didn't think people needed to feel sorry for me. I was like, I understand this loss has happened, but I've dealt with it. I do miss her, yes, but I was happy that she got to live the life she did. And it's just how it is, you know. I sadly do not have a sibling anymore, and I'm just thankful that I had her. I'm not upset that she's not here anymore. And
take me back in those moments where, you know, people do ask you, because I have the same, you know, people might ask you, what do your parents do? And I'll be like, oh yeah, my dad, you know, owns a business and Rotorua, blah, blah, and what about your mum? And I'm like, and so you're in a crossroad, right? And there's like, there's two. Sometimes it is simply easier to say, oh, she works with my dad, blah, 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 and sort of leave that there. And in a way, for me, it feels like, I don't know about you, I feel a little bit guilty sometimes if I don't say the truth. However, sometimes it's just not the right time and place. And how does it feel for you, and what makes you decide in those moments whether to share or not?
Yeah, it's interesting, because if I'm going to know someone, and like, because all friends are strangers, you know, all strangers can be friends you just haven't met yet. It's a real tricky place to like figure out when's the appropriate time. Like sometimes you have colleagues asking you, you don't want to dive all down into the colleagues with it. I've always been quite open with it. So for me now, I usually tell people, oh, I have a sister. And they're like, oh, what did she do? I'm like, oh, sadly, she passed away. Often, you know, you go through the routine, or people be like, I'm so sorry to hear that. What happened? These days, I'm very happy to just be like, oh, she had cancer. It's very sad. She passed away at a young age, but don't worry. It's okay. I'm okay. I'm just thankful that I had a sister. Rah. It can be real daunting, especially in your adolescent years, just after you've dealt with it, or you're still processing it, and you don't want to have to keep explaining to everyone. There's no right or wrong answer, in my opinion, because I was very classic, saying I was an only child. All that really matters for me is like the people close to me, what they think of me and stuff. So if you want to tell white lies to strangers and co-workers, I understand. If you're thinking someone's going to be a friend, or someone who you do know is a friend but doesn't know that's happened, be open with them. They want to know. No, you can't hide it away from them.
And in your experience with your grief, when those conversations do come up, does it bring things up for you? Or do you feel as though because it has been such a long time, it's quite easy for you to speak about? What's your experience with that?
I find it extremely easy to talk about. Because it was such a long time ago, I've had so much time to like deal and process with things, and time obviously is a very key factor. You need to do a lot of things to help deal with grief. Yeah, for me it's very easy to talk about. Don't find it uncomfortable.
In my experience, obviously when I say the word like mum, I call her mum still. I never, if I don't say her name often. And so whenever I hear someone else speak of my mum, I love hearing them say her name. And with Kenzie's Gift being a charity that, that is talked about around you on the podcast so often, what is it like for you hearing her name so often then?
When I hear her name in the context of Kenzie, it's just, to me, everyday life. I hear it a lot. Obviously, when I'm at home, mum's working with Kenzie's Gift, I constantly hear Kenzie's Gift, Kenzie's Gift. But I find it more intriguing when I find other people, because I don't find too many people called Kenzie, or some dudes called Mackenzie, or like Mac. There's like obviously different variations. That's more when I start picking up on it. Not when it's referred to her, but when others are like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's more when my if I was a dog, where my ears would stick up. That's why I say it happens more for me.
And so for you, when you hear other people talk about Kenzie or Kenzie's Gift, does it warm your heart in any type of way, knowing that her almost legacy is being carried on through this charity and through the work that you and your mum do?
I went to JB High Five one time to, I can't even tell you what I was getting, but there's a donation box for 5 charities, and one of them was Kenzie's Gift, so I took a photo of that. stuff like that I'm more intrigued by, not so much hearing people talk about, because I'm constantly hearing it. Like I would say, I'm hearing it almost daily, like it's always there. So me, it's almost a norm. It's like the norm for me.
Yeah.
But seeing it out and about is it's pretty cool. And I more enjoy hearing like the stories or meeting people who've been fortunate enough to be in touch with Kenzie's Gift, and we've been fortunate enough to help, like as a charity, as Mum's Charity has done. Those stories I find more intriguing, but how it's helped them. That's more when I say it hits home, when I'm like, oh, okay, this is a pretty cool thing that's being done. Not so much when people are like, oh, Kenzie's Gift, this is what it does, oh, that's so. It's more when I actually meet the people that it's helped, that it more hits home, I would say, which isn't a daily occurrence. It's not even a monthly occurrence, maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
I imagine it would be amazing meeting other people who have been touched and helped by Kenzie's Gift. I know that there have been a few things that you've been involved in. There was the 7 Sharp interview with Luca a while ago, and also there was a Dear Grief campaign. Yeah. Can you tell me about those and how you did connect with others?
Yeah, the Dear Grief campaign was pretty cool. Like it was really nice to everyone to get to write their letters and have these nice big exhibitions, and it was real nice to see so many people come through, and we're lucky enough to have a lot of people help sponsor that event so we could actually have it. There's a lot of work done by a lot of great people behind the scenes to get that and really help stamp a foot. It was 7 Sharp. We're very lucky to just have Luca be around. Luca's a real special person. Luca's great creative mind, and probably the most memorable person from Kenzie's Gift that we've been involved. One of a kind.
It's amazing. And how does it feel for you being able to actually have conversations and meet other people who have experienced grief? Does it make it easier to go through your own grief, or is it just nice to maybe bond with others?
I think it's nice to bond with others. There's a lot of people Kenzie's Gift has worked with. I've been fortunate enough to work with a few of them. I haven't been able to see all of them, and I haven't got to interact with all of them. But it is very good to see how it affects different people, and like how it can bring a lot of people out of their shells, For some people, it's just enough to deal with it. Some people are, very shy people and just are nervous. But seeing those people get a bit of life back, a bit of skip in their step again is very sweet to see.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I know there's so many ways that we can honour our grief. We can honour our ones who have died, and one of those ways I know that we both relate to are through tattoos.
Yes.
And yes, I know I've got a couple for my mum. I've got a breast cancer ribbon, I've got a tulip that represents my family, and also a bird too. And I know that you have one, and you also just got some finished yesterday. So tell me about it.
I got the one for Kenzie back in 2017. I've always been into tattoos. I love tattoos ever since I was a young age. I think I was 13 when I asked for my first one.
What was the answer?
Sadly, no. But I've always been fascinated. I've always found that they looked really cool. As you said, it's a good way of remembering someone. I was very fortunate to get in touch with an artist by the name of Nicholas Wong. He made my first tattoo experience as enjoyable as it can be. More importantly, he made a great bit of art, which I was really happy with.
And tell me about Kenzie's tattoo. What is it? What does it look like? What is it comprised of? And how does it represent her or her memory for you?
There's a little Cupid on it. I don't know if you guys would have seen. With Kenzie's Gift, there's a tiny little like Cupid figure as in the blue, a little blonde, obviously representing Kenzie. So I got a Cupid, and then I got a guardian angel above. It's a little bit of her as a guardian angel, but then also more importantly her being the Cupid. It's like a more representation of what we have here, especially Kenzie's Gift. So that was more the thoughts behind it.
Oh, it sounds beautiful. It sounds really representative and really special bits that help to make up that tattoo for Kenzie's legacy and for your memory of her as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that's going to be with me forever. I'm going to keep it. For me, it can always be like, it's right by your side, it's on the side of my body. So she'll always be there in some sort of way with me.
Absolutely. And I know for a lot of us, a lot of friends that I've spoken to or just people I've spoken to around grief, a really big outlet that we all sort of tend to go towards is a very big creative outlet, whether that be through art, through words. And yes, tattoo is just another way for us to represent that, isn't it?
Yeah. Having like these little, as you said, painting, tattooing, these creative outlets, even if you're not a real creative mind, you don't have to be a good drawer, you don't have to be a good painter, but it can allow you to really express how you're feeling once you kind of accept what you're trying to tackle. And sometimes you don't know what you're trying to tackle. You can sit there from a blank canvas and have no idea what you're going to do, but then you can just start going away and create something that you're like, oh, so this is how I was feeling. Because emotions aren't just black and white, they're not just happy, sad. There can be a mix of multiple different things going on at once. So it's a really good way of just trying to understand how you're trying to feel sometimes, and those creative outlets are honestly a good way to do it. And as you're saying, tattooing, I'm sadly not quite as steady-handed or as skillful as a tattooer, so instead of often doing it, I pay someone else to do it.
Good idea.
But it also allows me to have some sort of creative outlet in the same way.
And it sounds like you had a really great experience with Nicholas, and I guess that it would be really important to have a really good tattoo artist, just like I've had as well with mine, and having those conversations around what it is that you are feeling and how you want this portrayed on your body, and to be able to work together to create that piece that's really important to you. So just like you mentioned, a really great way to almost work through those feelings and come up with a very beautiful end piece. Like you said, that is on you forever, that we will forever remember our people by.
It's like anything, you know, with a therapist, you got to find your right therapist. It can't always be your first therapist. Sometimes the chemistry's just not there. Same thing with a tattoo artist. You don't have to rush. You don't have to walk into your first store and just be like, I'm going to work with this guy because this is who it is. You can go to multiple different people, especially with the memorial tattoos. I find that, like, because they're such a meaningful piece. Like, I've got some silly little tattoos, like I've got a bunny on my ankle and stuff, like with an eye patch and stuff like that. Those you can just walk into any place and go get. But if you're really thinking about like the creative expression of something you want as a memorial piece, really make sure you're in love with the piece, because it's going to have a lot of meaning to you. And even if you feel like you're poking at your tattoo artist, being like, I want this, and feel like you're annoying them, it's your piece. In the end of the day, you're paying for it. Make sure you get what's done that you want done.
Absolutely. And so you feel as though that this was perhaps even another step of processing your grief, or just another stage of your grief that this was there for you for?
I almost was. Like, at the time, obviously, I didn't consider it. Like, in my experience, I wasn't even thinking, oh, I'm trying to deal with grief. I was just doing stuff because I felt like this was what would make me a bit happier, or like make me feel a bit more me. One of those was getting the tattoo. Hence then I've got more tattoos, and I will get more tattoos, just making me more comfortable. But as you said, just one of those ways to deal with grief, which you sometimes won't process you're actually doing to deal with grief, but it definitely was one of the things that allowed me to have more of that visible representation and be a bit more accepting, especially like going back to that, how I used to always say, oh, I'm an only child, rah-de-rah-de-rah. It was one of the steps, especially even around that time. It was like, you know, not long after that, I was getting more comfortable being like, oh, even to strangers, I will say, no, I have a sister. Funny how the world kind of circles around and loops up. But yeah, for me, it was definitely a starting process of just being a lot more open with myself and others.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
And are there any last sort of stories or memories that you have of Kenzie that you would love to share? Any last leaving impressions, your favourite thing about her?
Oh, I don't know. There's too many to choose from. But like on her last birthday, I remember my mum still has it to this day. She got her this pink dollhouse we've had to this day, and it's a big memorial piece for a family that they spent a long time doing, getting ready, and she was so stoked. She had all little dolls, little playhouse to play with, and she had all her friends over, and I think it was just a day of joy. You know, everyone was super happy. There was a lot of smiles, a lot of laughter, you know, there was a lot of food going around. But like, I remember being very happy with that, and even to this day, I see that almost 7 days a week. You know, I see it. We still got it. It's not going anywhere, and it's a key part of Kenzie's memorials. It's like the main toy I think about when I think of her. This big pink house.
Yeah. Amazing. Good to have something that you can see regularly about her that will remind you and be there. Yeah,
it was from her last birthday. You know, it was a very tender, special moment because she passed away shortly after. But it was a very special time, I think, and I know a lot of people hold it dear who knew Kenzie. It was a very good birthday, and she was, you know, treated like any other girl would be, any other child for their birthday. It was just, there was no sickness, there was no nothing, it was just another birthday. It's a party, cake, you know, sugary stuff with little kids, and toys, you know, as they love it especially when you're a wee tucker about knee height.
And I imagine that birthday maybe even might bring up bittersweet, challenging yet happy memories with her being sick and with it being her last birthday. Can you tell me about that?
I think it was definitely a bittersweet memory for a long time in my mind, especially as I was saying before, when I was really becoming comfortable with myself with getting the tattoo and becoming more open with strangers and just being who I am currently, being more laid back. But these days, it's just a sweet memory. To me, even though it was her last one, it was a good day. So there was nothing bitter about it in my mouth. It was a good day well spent with my sister, which I was lucky enough to do. even though it was her last one, I don't really see it as that. I just see it as a good day, to be honest. It was one of the last really good, fond memories I have of her still being happy, and that to me is all it really is.
That's a beautiful way to look back on it. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Amazing. I just want to say again, thank you so much for being here today, for being so vulnerable and sharing about Kenzie, about talking about Kenzie's Gift charity and yourself and your own experiences with grief. I have no doubt that everyone listening, that other people listening, someone's sister has died too, or someone's brother has died as well. And just by you sharing your experience here, that you are helping others to feel less alone.
I'm always here to, try help. Like, my mum does a great effort with Kenzie's Gift. There's a lot of people who do so much great work and put a lot of time into this. I try to do the minimal I can, and I'm always happy to share. Thank you for having me on. I'm real glad I enjoy this experience, getting to sit down and just chat. And really, even for me these days, because I don't often think about it as often, because as we're saying, it's been a long time ago. So for me, even now, I get to think about it, and it's like, wow, I actually have processed some stuff, because I'm at the point now where might happen to some people listening in. I don't know if it's happened with you, but you don't really think you're sad, and then you're like, oh, there were these times, and now I'm actually okay. You don't realize you're okay until you just one day go, oh, I'm me again. I'm not constantly thinking about this. It obviously happens many days, many months after, but one day you are okay and you don't realize it.
Time passes, and it is great to really reflect on those moments, definitely for me, to see how far you have come and the different ways in which, for me, that I can honour my mum moving forward. And it has changed throughout the years, and it sounds like it has for you as well. And great that we can be here today to have these conversations. And for those listening, we hope that this just brings you a sense of that you're not alone in this, because you're not. And, Kenzie's Gift is there to reach out for help via email, website, and everything. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you so much.
It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. And everyone, please reach out. Kenzie's Gift is always here to try help. We're here to do our best and try help you through these hard times.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Grief is tough, and you don't have to do it alone. If this episode brought anything up for you, talk to someone, a friend, whānau, or someone you trust. If you're in New Zealand and want professional support, Kenzie's Gift is here. We offer one-on-one therapy for under 24s, plus support kits and resources at kenziesgift.com.
And if you're outside New Zealand, check in with your GP, your school counsellor, or a local support service. And if you need urgent help, please contact emergency services.
Thanks for listening. Take care, and we'll catch you next time. Ka kite anō.